Please recognize. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Let us kickstart our weekly market outlook here at Amzo Capital. So we're going to look at opportunities in the market, that weak spots for the week, trading opportunities, look for the high movers in the currency pairs, and look at the economic outlook in terms of economic news and reports that we should expect. Okay, so we're going to start off by looking at the weekly market calendar for the week. Today being Monday, November 22nd, there is no news, at least no medium to high impact news, because I filtered out low impact news. But if I put it back, let's see, there's no major news for the week for today. I don't like to pay attention to this low impact news. However, you can see them here. So they are in yellow, the medium impacts are in orange, and the high impact are in red. So personally, I like to focus on the medium to high impact news because they likely have much implication on how on cause more volatility in the market. Okay, so for today, for the week, we don't, we have a lot of things. We have a few things, but not a lot. Today being Monday, there is no major market news that we're expecting. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, not much as well. However, there are some mostly on the NZD. So we'll be seeing monetary policy statements from the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, and would hear their rate statement. I don't expect much change here. They'll probably keep it at 0.5, and it will just be a policy statement by this bank, by the chairman of the bank of the RBNZ as the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. On Tuesday, we have the Germany flash manufacturing PMI. It's a high impact news. It measures so if you go into here like this, you'll see that it's a level of the diffusion index based on sovereign purchase manager for the industry, right? So what we're looking out for is it's purchasing power managers. If they're depending on how the economy is doing, we'll probably be able to see that from their purchasing power. So we want to see if the actual is better or worse than the expected. So we'll see those two come out on Tuesdays. On Tuesday, then we have some other medium impact news from Euro, Pound, and the US economy as well. Then on Wednesday, we'll have the rate statements from the New Zealand, from the BNZ, and then we'll also have USD GDP QQ, right? So not a lot, right? Not a lot of key fundamental reports coming out. So this will mean most of the time we'll likely see technicals play out quite strongly. Okay, so now we've seen that. Now let's jump over to the charts and let's look for setups, right? So okay, so this is, okay, well, I have this on my chart because I was looking at this morning. I think I took this trade this morning. I'm trying to go into and see if this one plays out well. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. But one thing I like here is I like the fact that price is divergent. So notice how the market is making lower lows. You can see how this low is lower than the previous one, and this one is lower than the previous one. However, price is making higher lows. See how this low is higher than the previous one, and this is also higher than the previous one. So market is divergent. Clearly, we could likely see the market go up, and we could also see it come back down maybe before going back up. In which case, but as it stands, I have a small buy position from just where you can see here, and I'm looking to take this. This is opportunistic. If we break out of this trend line, so if we break out of this trend line, I would likely be protecting myself once we start getting back to this trend line, right? So I might close some profit and let some run. But this is entirely, remember, this is for educational purposes. Your trades are entirely your responsibility. So whether you choose to do something I'm showing or not, it's entirely up to you. So we could have the market slide lower. You might want to keep your stop loss a little bit further, depending, or you could probably leave it where it is, right? So that is on that. Well, let's start off by looking at the dollar index and the US oil, right? So look at crude oil and look at dollar index. So let's start off by looking at crude oil, right? So let's start off by looking at Okay. Yeah, so US oil. So US oil is reacting just as anticipated, right? So remember, I talked about this last week, I think, or the week before. I think it was last week, maybe the week before, I'm not sure. So I talked about this, that once we start breaking out of this trend line, we're going to see this market come back down to this low. And sure enough, you've seen that we've broken out of this trend line. We're broken below the trend line and we're sliding lower, right? So broken out of the trend line and we're sliding lower. And the only problem I have with this, not necessarily problem, the only issue I have with it is well, it's not really translating to the CAD, right? It's translating to the CAD in terms of USD CAD, I think, and then CAD GPUI. But the main one I want to see this translating into is the Euro CAD. But Euro CAD has not started completing just yet, and mostly because the euro has been terribly weak. The euro has been probably the weakest currency pair for about 2 weeks now, and but you could see exactly our anticipation on the US oil is playing quite nicely. The market has slid below. Now, currently, you could see where we are sitting. We're sitting below this level. So if the market holds below this level for today, if the market fails to close back above here, we could likely see this serve as resistance, and we could see price maybe come back down to this point, maybe down to this point, or maybe even down to this point. So that would be some really bearishness in the CAD. Would cause some really very strong bearishness in the Canadian dollar and the US oil, obviously. So we'll see how that one plays out. So far, the part of this resistance looks to be bearish, at least maybe it will come back down to this point, or maybe even as low as some of this area down here. Okay, so with that in mind, let's jump over to see what the DAX, the DXY, that's the dollar index, looks like, right? The dollar has been very strong. So the dollar has been very, very strong. And it's quite clear from you could see it's clearly from the chart, right? So the dollar has been strong. So you see, we had this area that we were watching. I did mention that if we break above this area, we're likely going to see price come back and retest this and challenge that high of 9,600. And sure enough, we struggled to get above. So we had this bounce, and I drew this resistance area. And then when we bounced off from trend line, we broke above. So this is where we broke above, and you can see how the market has stayed above it since then. Right now, the part of this resistance is bullish. We could likely see the dollar continue to strengthen, and so that not necessarily that's bad for Euro USD, especially with Euro weakness and dollar strength. You'd see how it is sliding lower. You also see the same thing with I think Swiss dollar Swiss is more bullish. Dollar CAD has been going up. So as long as it continues to stay like this, as long as the dollar continues to get stronger, then we are likely going to see this strengthen. Now, if I go to let's look at the SPY, the S&P 500, and so all of this is the market has been quite irrational of late. The dollar is strong, the SPY is strong, which usually they are inversely correlated. But so as it stands now, they seem to be moving along the same direction. The dollar is strong and the SPY is strong, and that means the stock market is the US stock market is expanding and getting bullish, more what do you call it, more strength into it. However, the dollar is strong. Usually, it's one way or the other. If this is getting weak, the dollar is getting strong. If this is getting strong, the dollar is getting weak. But as it stands now, we're seeing them move slightly in uniform. Now, with this in mind, so I'm going to just stretch this high. So I had this area. I expected this push. I'm still waiting for some kind of balancing out, some kind of retracement. I'm looking to see the market balance out, maybe make a 5 to 10% correction. Maybe see this pull back down, probably support strengthening dollar. But for now, the part of this resistance here too is also bullish. The market seems to always want to make new highs, and sooner or later this is going to implode. At least maybe temporarily or maybe even turn into a full bearish market. But for now, buyers are having it, and the path of least resistance is upward. Now let's jump over into some more interesting things. We'll look at currencies, we'll look at a few on cryptos, and then we'll wrap up while looking at, I think, metals like gold. So let's start up with looking at the most popular EURUSD. So we're going to just take a few. If you want to see me do more analysis on currency pairs, make sure you join me on my trading room at Cutting Edge Trading Room here with Anzo Capital. Remember, to be part of my trading room, all you need to do is just simply create an account, fund your account, and join me in my trading room. If you don't have an account and you're watching this on YouTube, for instance, the link to creating an account will be in the description. If you're watching this live, then the link to, you already have an account, and you should look to fund your account to join me in my trading room if you don't already have that. Okay, so EURUSD. EURUSD has been bearish, really bearish. Especially the weakness of the euro has not done well to favor this. The euro has been, really weak, just like I mentioned earlier, and the dollar itself has been quite strong. So hence, what this means is we're seeing EURUSD slide lower. And, this is what the market does. This is, one thing about the market is you might have a bias or an outlook to trade towards, and you might be right with your outlook. However, the market could stay irrational longer than you can stay liquid, which is why you need to plan your trades, have an exit strategy, or at least plan to manage your trade. Now, long term, you guys know that I've been quite bullish on EURUSD. I'm expecting this move, this pair to stop going down at some point and start going up. However, I also have to respect the fact that what I feel doesn't really count. So the market will do what the market wants to do. I have to just try and trade the market. So I still have my bullish positions here and here, as you know. So I had a buy here. I think I had a buy here, just there. And but when the market came back, we tested this trend line and rejected it with this big bearish engulfing that you can see there. I actually started selling. So I sold from here. It was a short-term trade. I sold from here, kept my stop loss tight above here, and I'll just continue riding this until we change trends to being bullish. So I have my buy position here. I also have a sell position here, and I've adjusted my stop loss down here. And if the market continues to slide lower, I'll keep moving my stop loss until the market is tired of going down, and then I continue to trend. Because here's the thing: this, especially the euro, has been weak for really weak, and I don't expect that to go on forever. However, I don't know when it will be. You can see these levels back here, and the markets could decide to slide lower to probably retest them. So let me zoom out. Let me show you. So you could see how this area here was resistant, back here. So let me make this a different color. So you could see how this area was resistant around here. It became support right through here. And so right now we are approaching that zone. We could see the market find support around one of these two areas. If we fail to see that happen, then we are exposing this level. So if that fails to happen, then that would leave this region here. Let me just mark it. It will leave this region here exposed. And you could see how this was, you see how market bounced up from here. And this would be more like a long stretch downward. Now, with moves like this, right? If it is what they call, it's an emotional market, right? And if the market continues to slide lower, well, I'll still keep holding my short position. But if the market continues to slide lower, remember, I still have my buy position here, waiting to see when I join the trend again higher. But if the market continues to slide lower and stretch downwards in this kind of parabolic move, you can see it's not even making wave-like pattern. It's just simply going down straight. And if the market continues to do that, then what would then happen is that what we notice in terms like that is the correction would be aggressive, right? It would be like a V bottom. To see an example here, the market went straight up and then went straight down and then went back up again. So usually when the market is making moves, we want to see it make cycles, tradable cycles that we can look to trade. However, when the market starts going this kind of move, it's usually followed by, let's say, a correction before it continues, or maybe a total, trend change, right? So which is actually the anticipation here. You can see how we have this boom, reject. So depending on where this finds support, because it's going to find support at some point, obviously, remember, I could also come down here to find support, but the longer it keeps stretching lower and the more aggressive it keeps stretching lower, the more likely we would see a V bottom pattern that could emerge, right? So for now, if you're selling, if you've been selling EURUSD, well, good for you. You could just make sure you keep protecting your profit. Make sure you're protecting your profit and letting your, by stopping it. And then if you're not selling, you've not been selling, well, it's not a good time to sell, right? Remember, the goal is to buy low, sell high. This is already really, really low. You can't be looking to sell here because, well, where will you ideally place your stop loss? It's unrealistic, right? So if you're selling, good for, if you've been selling, good for you. If you've not been selling, well, wait for, let's say, buying opportunity. So what you want to do is maybe have a trend line looking something like this, and then maybe an inner trend line, maybe something more aggressive, and then just watch for a break of the trend line and see if we get this move. Now, the main trade would come when we break above this trend line. That is where you see my overall, this is my targets long term. This might be a trade that plays out. The targets might be might take several months to materialize. However, if and when it does happen, I'll be looking to trade my way through this and make profits on the right hand side of the trend line. Now, for now, I have a buy position here. I did mention that in the trading room. I also had a sell position here because of this rejection, and the trade is still on. Currently now, I'm still stopping. My stop loss is here. If the market slides lower, I will adjust my stop loss, and then until we find the correction where the market becomes constructive and start making higher highs and higher lows, then I will go into full bullish mode and start looking for buying opportunities to try and reduce my break even much, much better. Okay, so that is that on EURUSD. Again, while we're here, you could just quickly, if you have any, I'm going to look at not more than 3 currency pairs. If you have any particular currency pair you want to look at, quickly just put it so that I'll probably come back to it. Now let's also look at other currency pair. Let's look at Aussie CAD. I don't think Aussie CAD is looking interesting, but just let's look at it. Aussie CAD. Let's see. So Aussie CAD is in no man's land. I don't like anything about the trade. Doesn't look good for buying, doesn't look good for selling, it's just sitting. So I want to either be looking for buying opportunities down here or looking for selling opportunities up here. Anything in between, I am not interested. So where it stands now, I don't like where it is. It's not good. It doesn't feel good for buying, doesn't feel good for selling. So it just stay out of this trade for me for now. Okay, that one I wouldn't count as. So let's look at USD CAD. So we had a strong dollar, we had a weak Canadian, and you had this, right? So some few weeks ago, I had this trend line. We broke above the trend line and I was buying. My target is all the way up here. So far, remember we saw USOE sliding lower and we saw the DXY sliding higher. So this is one that, was a no-brainer. Heading higher. So for the week now in this, well, there's really no best way for trading this. What you probably want to look for is look for pullbacks. If we get pullbacks and then we find, we get pullback and maybe we have something like a trend line and look for continuation, pullback, look for continuation, try and buy low, and just try and protect keep your stop loss tight, but wait for confirmation. maybe do multiple time frame analysis, look for trend line breaks on, let's say, the 4-hour or the 1-hour chart, and try to keep your trades tight. Let's also look at GBPUSD, another popular currency pair. So GBPUSD, I don't necessarily trade this a lot. I have a bot that trades this specifically, but manually I don't necessarily trade this a lot. I'm not even sure why. But so far, well, it's hard to tell, right? It's hard to tell what this one has in stock. It looks bearish. It looks a lot bearish. Now, the one thing I have to keep in mind is we have this yearly pivots down here. So we have this yearly pivots down here, and the markets will likely want to be stretching towards. So long term, I think GBPUSD look more bearish. It looks much more bearish until we at least find these pivots, and then maybe looking for a bullish move. However, as it stands, I don't like buying it. I don't like selling it. If anything, I actually prefer looking for selling opportunities than buying opportunities, because you can see that just taking out previous low is staying constructive. As long as price does not take out this high, we could continue to make lower lows and lower highs, for within the next coming months, and maybe try to find our way back down here. So on pound dollar, well, nothing I want to do anything about here. However, NZD, okay, I mentioned, so AUD, NZD is a trade, is a setup I quite like. So let's talk about this one. So let's give out something to look out for the week. So you could see how we had this move where we were in this bearish move where the markets were staying bearish. We were looking for remember when we were all looking for the break of this trend line? And remember, I told you guys I was looking for buying positions all through this area. The moment we confirmed the breakout, stacked up some buy positions and took out profits, took out profit all the way at the top here. So that was a good, nice trade, paid out handsomely. Next, the market pulled back down. I expected I was looking for a bounce, so low to high. I was looking for the higher low before the continuation. However, the market has its own plan. It failed to make a new higher high and instead went into a bearish channel, more or less. And so for that reason, I had to, look for setups. I think last week in our client only, in our cutting edge trading room, I did talk about either the cutting edge trading room or in the Telegram channel. I think I did put up a sell trade here, a short-term scalp sell trade here on AUD NZD. So when we broke below this trend line, I think that was on the 4-hour chart, right? So when we broke below this trend line here, I looked for a selling opportunity to take price back down here. So that was some good nice, that was a nice scalping opportunity. I think it took less than a day, and we got, I think it was about 75 pips thereabouts profit. Now, with the setup, with the outlook, the market went straight down. It's struggling to go lower. But more importantly, if we go to the daily charts on AUD NZD, you'd notice that we have a clear divergence, a very clear divergence from here. Ideally, I would want to see price come down lower. Let's see, maybe we test this area before going up. But I have to respect this. Now, notice this. This is a low price, and this is a new low price that is lower than the previous one. This is also a low price that is also lower than the previous one. So lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower high. However, you could see that our momentum oscillator is making higher lows, right? And you can see it's making higher lows. So I discussed divergence in our session on Wednesday. So you should know that this is a bullish divergence, right? So the market is making higher lows, while price is making lower lows. This is a sign of divergence. Likely is that we're going to see price move higher because of this discrepancy between price and momentum. However, you also, like I mentioned in the training on Wednesday, there's no guarantee to move up straight from here. It could slide down lower before eventually going up. So as you can see on your screen here, I had a buy trade here this morning. I also have a pending buy down here, right? So down, which is around this area here. My stop loss is, way below here. Now, my aggressive target is all the way up here. But what I really want to see is I want to see price respond, break above this trend line and then try and target this outer trend line. Now, once we get on this side, I'll probably start adjusting my stop loss and then see if we break above. If and when we do break above, then I would look to come back and start buying to try and take this back up here, back up here and back up here, right? So this is probably one you want to pay attention to for the week because the market has to decide one way or the other this week. So it decides to either break or maybe come back down, retest, and we'll see how the market reacts around this region, whether it wants to go up or maybe it wants to continue sliding lower, right? So either way, we'll be prepared. This particular trade, it's not the stop. It's not I have a tight stop loss down here. So if the market takes it out, well, that's fine. If it rejects this area, I may look to continue buying and selling. However, I kind of expect we could see price head higher, and so I'll be looking to plan my way through this, right? So any other information on this particular trade, I'll be giving that. I'll be letting you guys know on the continued trading room as well. So let's look at crypto a bit. So let's look at BTCUSD. We have just a few more minutes. So BTCUSD, this one I like. So I was talking to a couple of my friends, and everybody was saying how it was going to go to the moon while price was up here. And I was like, see, you guys just chill. I expect we could see price drop down to 53K, 52K, and maybe before making that move. I want to see price come back and retest this trend line. That is what I want to see. I want to see price come back. Maybe retest this trend line. It could simply drag out and retest this trend line. But then, this is previous resistance, maybe current new supports. I want to see price react from here. If maybe we could then see that push up to 80K, 100K if possible. But firstly, I'd like to see price react and get back down. But you have to keep in mind, this is Bitcoin we're talking about. So if you're trading it, be careful. If you're using information to decide when to buy, well, that's a different ballgame entirely. And just to know, I do not trade Bitcoin. I don't trade it like I do currencies. I simply just buy and hold, buy, sell, look for good prices, good places to enter, good places to exit using the technical stage. So I want to see, likely I would like to see price retest this outer trend, this trend line, and then I might start looking for some buying opportunity to try and take this higher. I think we have a similar outlook on Ethereum, so ETHUSD. I think we have a similar, so ETHUSD. So we have a similar outlook on Ethereum, right? So let me take this out. If I draw this down here, you'll notice we have quite a similar structure, right? So price high to low to high, higher high, low to high, so higher low to higher high. So maybe we get a new higher low before making the next bounce. So if I'm to just adjust this, we could see, so this could be the next leg where we'll go low to high. Let's just draw here. So this could be low to high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, right? So I would like to see this come back down. It could maybe have found support down here, in which case, well, that's fine. But I'll be more interested if we could see price drift down, maybe challenge this trend line, and then we could look for a continuation to the upside. Okay, Shiba. Anyway, this is not necessarily a popular coin, but I do love Shiba. So Shiba USD. So this was a nice trade for me. I'm sure some of you remember when I talked about this. I've actually been I was actually been buying Shiba all the way down here, all the way down here. I was accumulating, and we had this shoot up, and I looked for more buying opportunity when we came back down here. And then my target was, this was my target, right? And so when price went all the way up here, I actually closed out 80% of my position and let it remaining run. So right now we might be looking to reload. So it's still the same low to high, higher low, higher high, higher low, maybe before we continue pushing up. So we'll see how that one plays out, right? We're going to see how that plays out. But for now, in this, if we start breaking this trend line, we could start seeing some kind of aggressive move higher, in which case, well, I'm already loaded on this, so we'll see how that one plays out anyway. But for now, I like wait, all the cryptos, they look quite similar to me. No, you don't trade Shiba on Amazon Capital. No. All the currencies, all the cryptos look quite in the same state. When they start moving, they probably move in unison. What will be the catalyst for that? Well, I don't know. But we'll see how that one plays out, right? So those are on it for cryptos. And lastly, let us look at gold. So XAU-USD is where we call it the XAU-USD. So gold, I hope you guys remember this trade, right? So I talked about this long time ago. Inverse head and shoulder forming. We had this move, we had this break, you could see how the market stayed constructive and bouncing up from trend line, and we had this push. Now, currently, you could see how price is coming back to the trend line, the neckline, right? So we could likely see, if the price continues to come back down and we test this area, this could then serve as support, a bounce. It could serve as a boost for price and could cause price to bounce from here, right? Now, personally, I don't trade a lot of gold. I don't trade gold that much. When I do, I look for position holding. So I look to hold positions. Like I remember I was buying down from here. I had a pending buy down here, and luckily the market triggered me and went up. That was a nice trade for me. But right now, as it stands, just if you're looking to trade gold, remember, if you're trading gold, make sure that you have substantial amount of capital in your accounts, because this could, it's very volatile. I could wipe you out if you're not trading with good amount, right? But look for a bounce from this region to this previous resistance that is likely going to become support. Markets could react to it and then bounce off. We could see this move up to the next leg higher. Okay. Please, this one you are explaining, is it all crypto? I don't get what you're saying. We talked about currencies, we looked at currencies, we looked at dollar index, we looked at US oil, we looked at some cryptos, and now we're looking at some metals. So we've talked about a lot of things here today. Okay, so that's it. Is it on gold? Other setups for the week as they're materializing, I quite like. So EURUCAD is still doing what it does. EURUSD, EURUCAD, EURUCHF. Those are some of the trades that I'll be looking to trade once I get some clear directional bias. EURUCAD, I mean, it's for the long term. EURUCHF, I like the trade is overstretched, looking for some bullish momentum when and if it does decide to move. However, I'll be talking a lot about those as they materialize in my trading group and in my Telegram channel. So make sure you stay tuned and at least keep your ears down for when I discuss them. Okay, guys, so that will be all for our session today. I hope you enjoyed the class. Any question? I think I have 2 minutes or thereabouts to take your question before we call it a day. Okay, so somebody's asking, how can I join Telegram channel? Well, if you have a funded account, just reach out to your account manager and they will add you to the Telegram channel. So if you have a funded account, reach out to your account manager. Easy Chukuma, I think you're in the Telegram channel. So what exactly are you saying? Okay.